In the heart of South Africa, there was a kingdom called Azania. It was a beautiful place with rolling hills, sparkling rivers, and vast savannas. The kingdom was ruled by a wise and just king named Themba. King Themba was loved by his people and he loved them in return. One day, King Themba decided to show his people the treasure of Azania. The treasure was a chest filled with gold, diamonds, and other precious stones. It was hidden deep within the palace, and the only King Themba and a few trusted advisors knew where it was. As King Themba showed his people the treasure, a sly and cunning thief named Jabu snuck into the palace. Jabu Jabu had been planning to steal the treasure for months, and he saw this as a perfect opportunity. Jabu snuck past the guards and made his way to the treasure room. He quickly grabbed the chest and ran out of the palace. King Themba and his people were shocked and devastated by the thief. King Themba called upon his bravest warriors to chase after Jabu and retrieve the stolen treasure. The warriors set off immediately, determined to bring Jabu to justice. As they chase after Jabu, they encounter many dangers and obstacles. They had to cross raging rivers, climb steep mountains, and fight off fierce wild animals. And they persevered, driven by their loyalty to the king Themba and their determination to retrieve the stolen treasure. After many days of traveling, the warriors finally caught up with Jabu. They find him hiding in a cave surrounded by his loyal followers. Jabu was cunning and ruthless, and he would stop at nothing to keep the treasure for himself. The warriors knew they had to be careful. They devised a plan to sneak into the cave and catch Jabu off guard. But Jabu was too clever and he had set a trap for them. As the warriors encountered the cave, they were met with a hail of arrows and spears. They fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Just when it seemed like all was lost, a young warrior named Sifo came up with a clever plan. Sifo remembered that the cave had a secret entrance, one that only a few people knew about. He suggested that they use this entrance to sneak up behind Jabu and his followers. The plan worked perfectly. The warriors snuck into the cave through the secret entrance and caught Jabu and his followers off guard. They fought bravely and managed to defeat Jabu and retrieve the stolen treasure. King Themba was overjoyed when the warriors returned with the treasure. He thanked them for their bravery and rewarded them with gold and land. The kingdom of Azania celebrated for many days, and King Themba's people loved him even more for his wisdom and justice. But little did King Themba know Jabu's thief was just the beginning of a much larger problem. A dark force was rising in the land, one that threatened to destroy the kingdom of Azania forever. The dark force was led by a powerful sorceress named Nala. She was determined to conquer the kingdom and rule with an iron fist. King Themba and his people were in grave danger, and they didn't even know it. Nala began to gather her armies, a formidable of dark creatures and evil warriors. She cast spells and incantations to make her army stronger and more powerful. As Nala's army grew in strength and numbers, King Themba's warriors began to notice strange occurrences in the kingdom. Crops began to wither and die, animals fell ill, and the skies grew dark and foreboding. King Themba knew that something was wrong, and he didn't know what. He called upon his wisest advisor to help him figure out what was happening. The advisor told King Themba that they had heard rumor of a dark sorceress who was gathering any army to conquer the kingdom. King Themba knew that he had to act fast to protect his people. He gathered his warriors and protected them for battle. They marched out to meet Nala's army, ready to defend their kingdom against all odds. The battle was fierce and intense. King Themba's warrior fought bravely, but Nala's army was too strong. Just when it seemed like all was lost, a young warrior named Lindiwe came up with a clever plan. Lindiwe remembered that Nala's army was vulnerable to a certain type of magic. She suggested that they use this magic to weaken Nala's army and gain the upper hand. The plan worked perfectly. King Themba's warrior used the magic to weaken Nala's army, and then they launched a fierce attack. Nala's army was defeated and the kingdom of Azania was saved. King Themba was overjoyed and thanked Lindiwe for her bravery and cleverness. He rewarded her with gold and land, and she became a hero in the kingdom. But the kingdom of Azania was not yet saved. Nala, the dark sorceress, had escaped and was planning her revenge. King Themba knew that he had to be vigilant and protect his kingdom from Nala's evil plans. One day, a messenger arrived at the palace with a warning from a neighboring kingdom. The messenger told King Themba that Nala had formed an alliance with a powerful neighboring king, and they were planning to attack Azania together. King Themba knew that he had to act fast. He gathered his warriors and prepared them for battle. They marched out to meet the enemy, ready to defend their kingdom against all odds. As they marched, they encountered many dangers and obstacles. They had to cross raging rivers, climb steep mountains, and fight off fierce wild animals. But they persevered, driven by their loyalty to King Themba and their determination to protect their kingdom. After many days of traveling, they finally arrived at the border of the neighboring kingdom. They were met by a massive army led by Nala and the neighboring king. The battle was fierce and intense. King Themba's warriors fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Just when it seems like all was lost, King Themba remembered the words of his wise adviser: a true leader must use his brain as well as his brawn. King Themba thought quickly and came up with a clever plan. He ordered his warrior to pretend to retreat and then to attack the enemy from behind. The plan worked perfectly and the enemy was caught off guard. Nala and the neighboring king were defeated and their army was forced to retreat. King Themba and his warriors were hailed as heroes and they returned to Azania as champions. The kingdom of Azania continued for many days and King Themba's people loved him even more for his bravery and cleverness. But King Themba knew that there would always be new challenges and dangers, and he vowed to always be ready to defend his kingdom. Years went by and King Themba's legend grew. He became known as one of the greatest kings in the history of Azania, and his name was whispered in praises by his people from generations to generations. And though Nala and the neighboring king were defeated, their evil plans were not forgotten. A new generation of villains would rise, seeking to destroy the kingdom of Azania and claim its treasure for themselves. But King Themba's legacy would live on, inspiring future generations to defend their kingdom against all odds. And King Themba's people lived in peace and prosperity for many years. But as the years went by, a new threat emerged. A young and ambitious prince from a neighboring kingdom named Malusi had set his sight on conquering Azania. Malusi was cunning and ruthless, and he would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. He began to gather a massive army, and King Themba's court reported that he was planning to attack Azania soon. King Themba knew that he had to act fast. He gathered his warriors and prepared them for battle. They marched out to meet Malusi's army, ready to defend their kingdom against all odds. As they marched, they encountered many dangers and obstacles. They had to cross raging rivers, climb steep mountains, and fight off fierce wild animals. But they persevered, driven by their loyalty to King Themba and their determination to protect their kingdom. After many days of traveling, they finally arrived at the border of the neighboring kingdom. They were met by Malusi's massive army and the battle began. The battle was fierce and intense. King Themba's warriors fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Just when it seems like all was lost, King Themba remembered the words of his wise adviser: a true leader must use his brain as well as his brawn. King Themba thought quickly and came up with a clever plan. He ordered his warrior to pretend to retreat and to attack Malusi's army from behind. The plan worked perfectly and Malusi's army was caught off guard. Malusi was defeated and his army was forced to retreat. King Themba and his warriors were hailed as heroes and they returned to Azania as champions. The kingdom of Azania celebrated for many days and King Themba's people loved him even more and more for his bravery and cleverness. But King Themba knew that there would always be new challenges and dangers, and he vowed to always be ready to defend his kingdom. And so King Themba's legend grew, and his name became synonymous with bravery, wisdom, and leadership. His people loved him and he loved them, and together they built a kingdom that would last for generations to come. Years went by and King Themba grew old and wise. He knew that his time on this earth was coming to an end, and he called his people together to bid them farewell. "My dear people," he said, his voice weak but full of love, "I have lived a long and happy life, and I am grateful for every moment I have spent with you. I know that I will soon be leaving this world behind, but I have no fear, for I know that I have left behind a kingdom that is strong and prosperous, and a people who are brave and loyal." And with that, King Themba closed his eyes and passed away, surrounded by his loved ones. His people mourned his death, but they also celebrated his life and his legacy, for they knew that King Themba would always be remembered as a hero and a great leader. King Themba's people continued to thrive and prosper. They built new homes, harvested bountiful crops, and raised their children in peace and safety. Hope you enjoyed this interesting story. Drop a comment if you did enjoy it.